I'm Jack Kennedy, and we're here to bring you the latest in MMA.
Hey everybody, my name's Hunter Boss, and what the boss says goes.
What is up everyone, my name is Keelan McNamara, and you already know what time it is.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the MMA Island Podcast. I am Jack Kennedy alongside Keelan McNamara and Hunter Boss. Let's go ahead and roll right into it with the news. We're recapping the fight night from this past Saturday. Alexander Rakic versus Jan Blachowicz. Jan Blachowicz wins by technically a TKO round 3. Look, we all have our opinions about Rakic. Very unfortunate ending to the fight. Hunter, what are your thoughts on this main event?
Yeah, it truly was unfortunate for Rakic. You never want to see that happen to any fighter out there on the octagon. Granted, though, the fight from the start was actually pretty decent. The first round was very back and forth on the feet. I'd say Jan was clearly a little bit better on the feet, but not like by a large margin. So I'd say that Jan had the first round. He also tenderized his legs up with a bunch of really good leg kicks and good leg checks as well. So round 2 came around. Rakic took him down, held him in control for the whole round. Round 3, Rakic snapped his, I think it was ACL by the looks of it.
It was ACL, yeah.
It was ACL. It was unfortunate, really, what happened, but it did look like, in my opinion at least, that Jan won round 1, and he was winning that third round as well on the feet. So it's terrible what happened, but it is what it is. It's the UFC, and if your body's not built to last 5 rounds, you should be staying with those third round fights.
Yeah, unfortunate ending to a great fight, I really have to say. Look, I'm not Alexander Rakic's biggest fan. I don't think any of us are necessarily, but I do fully agree with Hunter. You never want to see that happen to any fighter unless someone who absolutely somehow really, deserved it, or, so, kind of like Conor McGregor against Dustin Poirier, that kind of thing. But other than that, it's horrible to see. It really is. Yeah, it was a great fight. Jan Blachowicz, Polish power, definitely won the first round for me.
Yeah.
Started chopping at the legs, like Hunter said, really killing off that base of Rakic, preventing any sort of explosive movement forward. Very, very good tactic. And then Rakic came back in the second round. He looked really, really good, managed space better, just overall maintained a very good threat, very good presence. You could argue he won the second. I think a few people would actually. And then third round rolls around, Jan Blachowicz again chopping away at, I think it was Rakic's right leg. Yeah, it was Rakic's lead leg. And then the leg just pops. ACL's gone. Rakic falls down and he can't continue. It was a very unfortunate end, but it was, I don't mean to sound too macabre here, but it was brought about very tactically by Jan Blachowicz from constantly targeting that leg. And unfortunately, as sorry as I am for Alexander Rakic, and I do wish him a speedy recovery, genuinely, you have to check those kicks or this is what happens to you. Conor McGregor found that out the hard way. Other fighters have found that out the hard way. You have to check leg kicks, or leg kicks will pile up and they'll blow out your ACL, your MCL, and they will leave you with long-term damage. So very good win for Jan Blachowicz. This puts him with some good momentum back in the division. But this is not the end for Alexander Rakic. He actually looked better. He looked like he was more willing to engage, more willing to fight. And I'm curious to see who he ends up coming back against.
Yeah, I think also hats off to Jan Blachowicz for not jumping in there whenever he was on the ground holding his knee, because you could tell he could have landed some bombs there, because Herb Dean was a little hesitant because he didn't understand what fully happened. But he didn't go in. So I say credit to Jan Blachowicz. We know that's the type of person he is. It's very unfortunate to see that. I mean, obviously, we Rakic is our quote least favorite fighter on the podcast, but it's and you don't like to see that for anybody, just like you guys said. I mean, I do. We all wish him a speedy recovery. But Keelan, you nailed it. I'm glad you said that. Even though it was technically a non-contact injury, and it wasn't the leg that was being calf kicked, it was the rear leg that he stepped back on, and that's when it happened. it was brought about because of the calf kicks, because Rakic, his lead leg was so chewed up from those calf kicks that the reason he won the second round is because he had to change up his game plan and take him down because of the calf kicks. But then two, he's having to put all of his weight on his rear leg and he's trying to hide it, but all of the weight's going on his rear leg. And then when he does this, his balance isn't great because of the calf kicks. He steps back and then boom, there it goes. It's just unfortunate. I officially hate the UFC replay people because they just kept putting it back and forth. And it's just like, we don't need to see that. It sucks. I'll tell you what, Jan Blachowicz looked good, really good on the feet. Rakic has a super nice jab, but we know that because that's how he wins his fights. It's just kind of like jabbing and getting away usually. But the reason it was a good fight is because Jan Blachowicz engages, which is what we all predicted. That's why this fight was going to be a good fight, because Jan Blachowicz is not like the other opponents that Rakic has been facing, because he has that Polish power. He has that X factor, and he will go forward. And that's what happened. And then, like I said on the podcast, Rakic was engaged in a firefight, and this is the first firefight he's been in for a while. So having to worry about the Polish power and then the just nasty calf kicks that he kept landing, it was amazing on the feet. And then I want to give credit to Rakic though, because he was was against the wall. He really got rocked 2 times. He hit it well, but he got rocked 2 times in that first round. Second round comes out, changes up the game plan. Level changes, great takedown, and basically just ground and pounds the round out, 1-1 going into 3, and then we all know what happened. So the Rakic looked good. Jan looked obviously fantastic. Good, really good fight all around. Super disappointing ending. The one major takeaway I have from this is regarding Jan Blachowicz. We know he's insane on the feet, and honestly, he has decent takedown defense. Just standing up takedown defense. The problem is when he gets taken down, he cannot get back up. It wasn't just a Glover Teixeira thing we found out there. Alexander Rakic is not a wrestler, and he was able to just hold him down. Jan Blachowicz closes his guard and waits out a round. So if you take Jan Blachowicz down, you're basically going to win the round, is what we've seen. As it's a new precedent that we've seen from Jan Blachowicz. It's crazy thinking. I was thinking about how is he able to dominate Israel Adesanya by the wrestling, but not anyone else, or not even defend it. His wrestling defense is not the same as his offensive wrestling, and we found that out. So that is a real weakness for Jan Blachowicz that will be maybe exposed or tested against in his future opponents.
I like that take, but you also have to realize what Jan tried to do for 2 out of those 3 minutes he was on the ground. He threatened submissions from his back the entire time.
Yeah,
It didn't work. I think they were simply just too sweaty by round 2 still, but he's a master of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I think he's very comfortable on the ground and he's willing to stay on the ground. And I think Rakic definitely had that wrestling control over him. But I think Jan's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game, he overestimates his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game almost sometimes.
Off the back for sure.
That's right.
Yeah. Sorry, go on ahead, Hunter.
Go ahead. It's all good.
No, I was just going to say, I like that take, Jack, and I like where you're approaching from as well. I think it makes a lot of sense. I do agree with Hunter, though, as well. I think Jan's jiu-jitsu game is very good. The guy's a black belt. Don't get me wrong. His jiu-jitsu is always going to be really good. The problem is, I think there's levels to MMA jiu-jitsu, and I think Blachowicz is not quite as high as he thinks it is. Even when it came to the Glover Teixeira fight, this was the highlight thing that all 3 of us talked about constantly. If this fight hits the deck, can Jan Blachowicz get back up again? And I think the problem is his jiu-jitsu is just not quite to the level that he thinks it's at, or maybe that it should be at, because Glover Teixeira proved it. Okay, he's a jiu-jitsu master. You expect that. But Alexander Rakic is a kickboxer, he could keep him on the ground. So I do think there's a potential chink in the armor there for Blachowicz, and I think that's something he really needs to work on. He needs to work on the scramble when it's him getting taken down. If he can get that scramble fixed, then he's a nightmare for every other 205er in the division. But if that stays the way it is, then all of Jan Blachowicz' opponents are going to have an avenue for victory there.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys actually mentioned that, because it's like I mentioned just kind of the wrestling defense, but it's more than that. It might be an ego thing, because he has 7 or 8 wins by submission in the UFC, but those were not against the caliber of opponents that he's facing at the top. So I really think that is a real problem for him. I think he needs to maybe reassess, because where is your best key to victory? It's on the feet with that Polish power. If you're rocking Alexander Rakic on the feet, you're doing something right, and you can knock out anyone in this division. So I think I agree with you guys. I think he needs to reassess and maybe not be so offensive off his back and just try and get back up or win the scrambles, like Keelan said. Well, interesting conversations. Let's move on to the best of the best. And today we're talking about who is the most underrated fighter right now in MMA. Hunter, who do you think it is?
I have it here, boys. I looked throughout the lists. I looked at every weight class.
Yeah.
I looked at men and female. And I think I have the number one most underrated fighter.
Okay.
That being Rafael Dos Anjos. I mean, this guy is absolutely uncomparable. This guy's strength of schedule is insane. He fights the best in every weight class, every fight. I mean, the only reason he didn't get a ranked opponent last time is because his opponent fell through. He got a semi-decent opponent, but every other opponent before that, Colby Covington, he's got so many fantastic names under his line, and there's only more to come too. He's not getting any worse. He's getting better every time he's in there. And we saw in his last performance, he's still really, really talented. He's elite in striking and wrestling. This man is the most underrated fighter in the UFC.
Those are very, 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 very good shouts. I really like them a lot. And I have two that I kind of have three that I'm throwing about with each other, but I can't say three because that just wouldn't be fair.
Right.
I'll mention them fleetingly, but I won't go into them. And then I'll say the one that I actually do think. The two that I was going to say were Adrian Yanez and Sean Brady. I think they're both brilliant fighters who don't get the spotlight they deserve. Sean Brady, just tough SOB, amazing welterweight, and he will be at the top of that division in not that long of time. Adrian Yanez, brilliant bantamweight, always puts on a show. But my pick, perhaps controversially, is actually Merab Dvalishvili at bantamweight. And the reason that I picked Merab is mostly for a couple of reasons. I think he gets overshadowed a little bit being Aljamain Sterling's teammate. I think he plays the support role excellently, but I think he almost lets the spotlight get taken off him quite a lot. And secondly, I think it's because of the nature of the division itself. Because the division's so stacked, I think Merab Dvalishvili is one of those names that gets overlooked a lot. Mind you, when you've got the likes of Sean O'Malley's, Jose Aldo's, to name but two in that division, when you have those kind of names, it's very easy to get overlooked and underappreciated. And for me, Merab Dvalishvili is one of those names. His last fight against Marlon Moraes was a fight of the year contender. That first round was one of the best rounds I've ever seen. Merab got 10-8'd, looked like he was going to get finished, came back in the second round, did the same thing to Marlon Moraes. For me, my pick, and I'm very excited to hear where Jack's going with this, but for my pick, it's Merab Dvalishvili.
Those are really good picks, and I like that. I was for me, I was going to go RDA, but then my second pick. But then my second pick was Adrian Yanez, and of course Keelan had to just
France. No, it's been bad.
Say that, but that's okay. We'll talk about Yanez for a minute. Yanez is one of the most, I would say, exciting guys that no one really knows about. Another one that I want to throw out there too is Charles Jourdain, the guy who just beat Lando Canada. That dude is a monster. He has the Sparta kick. I'm very excited to see what he's doing. I don't know if I can call him underrated yet, because I think the people he's fighting, he's not underrated against, but he's definitely a dark horse. So I'll say that. Yanez, though, for sure is underrated. I think whenever he fights, people kind of forget about his last performance because he's not a big trash talker. He kind of just floats around. This dude is as technical as it gets on the feet. He's fighting in Austin, I think, next, which is very exciting. He's from Texas. People from Texas know about Yanez, and there's a reason that they know about Yanez, because he is the future. I think a lot of people believe in him. A future, maybe Sean O'Malley, Adrian Yanez fight could happen years down the road, and that's going to be so fun. Just people don't know the name yet because he's underrated, and that's why I think he's underrated. So that's for Yanez. RDA was my original shout because of what Hunter said. If you look at the guy's resume, I don't think anyone has a better resume of people that he's fought. You can talk, he has this many losses. When you fight just a murderer, he hasn't had a break. He has not had a break fight. He has never had a break fight. So I think RDA is a great shout, and everyone counts him out always. But I'll go Jan as my pick. And with that, guys, let's go ahead and transition to the discussion of the week. And we're talking about Dustin Poirier today. We don't know who he's fighting. He doesn't know who he's fighting, probably. Who knows what's going on, but he wants to fight July 30th. Let's keep stacking the month of July. Hunter, who should Dustin Poirier fight July 30th?
So there's two realities here. Does Dustin stay at lightweight or does Dustin move up to welterweight? If he stays at lightweight, I think Justin Gaethje is the fight to make. I mean, they both are coming off of losses to the champion now. Both got rear naked choked. I mean, it's just like it's time. You know, their first fight was the fight of the year in 2017. I mean, it was one of the most entertaining fights of all time. It's the fight that got me into watching UFC. So if that's got to tell you something, this second fight I want more than anything else. And they're not the same fighters as they were in 2017. They're way better. And that's such a fun aspect to think about because they were so good in 2017 as well. In which just the striking IQ that we would be able to see in this fight would be so entertaining. But I don't know if that's realistic, considering July 30th, Gaethje just got finished the other day or the other week. So, we'll see what happens there. Welterweight, on the other hand, I think I want Khamzat Chimaev versus Dustin Poirier very badly. I think this is a smart idea for both fighters here because both of them can avoid Colby Covington to get that title shot. I think Colby Covington beats both fighters. Well, it's debatable for Khamzat.
We don't know.
I think Colby beats Dustin. I think it's pretty reasonable to say here.
Yeah.
But if Dustin moves up to welterweight, he's already a big name. He can get a top 5 opponent. I think Khamzat Chimaev is going to make him both the most money, and I think he'll have the greatest chance against Khamzat Chimaev here. Khamzat gets to skip Colby Covington to get to that title shot. I think this fight works out for both fighters pretty well.
I cannot believe what I've just heard. Man wants to put Dustin Poirier against Khamzat Chimaev after fighting Charles Oliveira. What is happening? Yeah. You know what? I like it though, Hunter. I like it. It's brave. It's bold. It's brash. It's the MMA Island podcast. I like it. I like it a lot.
Cut that as a promo right there, Keelan. That was phenomenal.
Bold, brash, and boss.
Yeah. That's what we do in the MMA Island podcast. We cut promos. And you know who else cuts really good promos? The guy who Dustin Poirier could fight next at 155 or 170. It's Iron Michael Chandler.
I love that. Yeah. I love that.
Nice.
See what I did? Yeah.
That was good.
Perfect.
The whole setup.
Hey, you're on fire.
I don't even have to explain this because this writes itself perfectly in either way. 155, whoever wins that fight's probably getting a title shot. If it's welterweight, perfect. Neither guy has to cut weight, and we get a fight of the year either way. Personally, I don't care what weight division that's at. As long as we get it, I'd be more than happy. And by the way, even though I love Dustin Poirier, shout out Lafayette, Louisiana, that comeback from Michael Chandler using Michael Johnson is the single best Twitter comeback I've ever seen.
That was so good.
That was the politest, most UFC press release official 10-8 that I've ever seen. Michael Chandler, you're a genius. Well played. You deserve everything. That was just fantastic. So for me, my pick, the one that I would go with, the one that I would make, it's Michael Chandler at 155 or 170. And do you know why? Do you know why this is the case? Because when you want to know where it's at, you come to the MAC.
Oh,
I mean, we're bringing our taglines to just discussion of the weeks now. I mean, this is kind of crazy.
It's too much.
Keelan's setting new standards. I like it. So I actually love this because we all three have different people, and Keelan didn't steal mine this time, so we're set. We're good. I'm surprised you guys didn't mention this one. I think it's Nate Diaz. I think Diaz would be so fun. They've been talking about making this fight forever. Diaz is off doing whatever he's doing. We don't know what's going on. He wants a fight. They say he's fighting Chimaev. He's not getting a fight. Same deal with Poirier. It's almost like there's a block in between. Like either someone's flat out lying that they don't want to fight, or the UFC is just for some reason not making this happen. I would love to see this fight happen because both of them used to be 155ers. It's a great first 170 fight for Dustin because he's not really fighting a natural. Well, I guess he's fighting a natural.
It's winnable.
Yeah, it's super winnable for him. Dustin Poirier could probably piece them up on the feet, but Nate Diaz keeps pouring it on. It's just a fan-friendly fight. It is going to be guaranteed fireworks, and they're both such great personalities. The press conference would be amazing between them. I think Michael Chandler would be a ton of fun. I think what Hunter mentioned would be a ton of fun. For me personally though, I think Nate Diaz is a fight to make. It would just be pure chaos. The whole fight would be amazing. Slap it as a co-main event 5-round fight. Like it has to be 5 rounds though. That's any one of these fights has to be 5 rounds. I that goes without saying, but yeah, there's a lot of fun options. I think Nate Diaz would be just a total blast though. I would watch any of these. I mean, there's so many fun fights.
Want to hear something funny?
Yeah.
Both of your guys' picks, all your guys' picks, I would have said if not for different reasons. Nate Diaz, the only reason I didn't say the Nate Diaz one is because I think I want the Conor McGregor fight a little bit more for Nate Diaz.
I can see that.
And they hinted at it on Twitter. That's all I need. That's enough for me. Okay. I'm good with it. And speaking of Twitter, the only reason I didn't pick Michael Chandler is because Chandler came out saying he has no interest in fighting Poirier. Maybe he feels discredited, like he said over Twitter. I don't know if this is a marketing ploy. It would be really smart if it is, because now I think Dustin really wants to fight Chandler after he said that. Now it's hilarious. I love the fight game. But honestly, all you guys' shouts, they're perfect. Anything for Dustin Poirier as long as it's July 30th.
100%.
As long as it's July 30th. Do you know what we need? I've just realized, do you know what we need? We need a 4-man tournament at 55 or 70. Gaethje, Chandler, Dustin, and Nate. Can you imagine how good that would be?
I wonder who the 4th seed is. That's all I want to know.
I would say
or Diaz. That's I just feel bad.
Yeah, Diaz is the number 1 seed. What are you talking about?
That's right. Yeah, I know. Poor Diaz, because it's such easy opponents he has to
Exactly. No, I love the picks both you guys made. Gaethje would just be mind-blowingly good. I mean, the first fight was one of the best fights I've ever seen. The second one would top that. And then Nate Diaz is taking a piss in UFC headquarters. Just use that as the poster with parental advisory on it, and you've got a million pay-per-view buys in that alone. Yeah, I mean, honestly, as long as it's July 30th, I don't really mind who they give Dustin Poirier. As long as it isn't Islam Makhachev, I'll probably be pretty happy with it.
Yeah, Keelan, you shouldn't have said it, because I want a BMF tournament now. I want like a top. Let's expand it to 8. Let's throw in some more welterweights in there, because you gotta
put Masvidal in there.
Masvidal, because he's the reigning BMF. Although he might be. They should match them up as the lowest seeds is Masvidal and Diaz now, and have them go again. But
we get a rematch in the first round.
Yeah, exactly. But man, that would be so fun. And what a great podcast, guys. Thank you everyone so much for listening. As always, make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. You can find us everywhere, literally everywhere, including iTunes and Spotify. Follow us on Instagram at MMA.island and check out our website, MMAisland.net. Again, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in today, and great podcast, guys.
Thank you, guys.